Now, I know I did originally ask for questions for this Q&A in last week's weekly vlog, but I left it so late into the video, I don't think very many people saw it. We didn't get very many questions come through, and a lot of them were directed at other members of the family, because that was the plan at the time. So kind of redid the question gathering process as usual, went onto the community page, asked for some questions, asked people to upvote, thumbs up the questions they most wanted to hear answered, and I'm doing the majority of the most popular questions that were on there. As ever, there were loads of questions, so if yours hasn't been answered this time, don't be disheartened. Submit it again next month and I might answer it for you then, or whoever it's directed to might answer it then, because obviously I've had to pick out the ones that are just targeted for me, because it's only me doing this Q&A. So first question, what's been the hardest stage you've been through with Andy? Without question, the year or so that he was off school, that directly led to me having to leave my job and Anna drop out of uni. And I mean, it was a very difficult time for everybody. It's very well documented on this channel, but yeah, it was just very difficult for all concerned, Andy included, the girls included. It was a really hard time for everybody, but we got through it. So it's a positive. We put a positive spin on everything. It was a big test. I think we passed it. We came out the other side, and everybody is much happier and better off now than we were 3 years ago. How's Andy getting on with his work experience? For those of you who don't know, Andy does work experience 1 day a week. He goes to a food bank. It's all done through school, but rather than doing like a 2-week spell of work experience like I did way back when, he does like an afternoon a week, and he's been doing it since September, and the plan is to carry it on for the rest of the year. There's 2 options. One is go and work at the food bank. One is go to the local Sainsbury's and do bag packing. Nobody involved thinks he would cope very well with the bag packing thing. It's a very overstimulating, overwhelming environment being in a supermarket, but the food bank he absolutely loves. All through the Christmas holidays he was asking when he could go back to the food bank. It's all he was interested in doing. He loves it. I think if it was, it's a bit of a shame that it's something, as far as I'm aware, you can only volunteer at. So when the time comes for him to get a job when he's older, I don't think working in a food bank is something that he'd be able to do, because I think it's a volunteer thing. I mean, he might end up volunteering rather than working, who knows? But I think certainly that kind of work, it's very methodical, it's very structured. He is basically sorting the food into different piles, so cans and bags, and just sorting stuff, and he loves it. So yeah, he's really, really enjoying it and thriving there. What does Andy now eat and drink throughout the day? It's been pretty much the same for the last 2 or 3 months now. I think we've mentioned it kind of in passing, but to give you a walkthrough of his current eating day, and he has toast, and this is a day at home, as ever. Days are different depending on where he is. He's still very location based for his food, but when he's at home, he'll have 6 slices of toast for breakfast. Yes, six slices of toast for breakfast. He'll then maybe snack on a couple of bags of crisps throughout the morning. 12 o'clock, he'll have his lunch, which is, for lunch, he'll have 6 fish fingers and 6 waffles, and then he might snack on crisps again throughout the afternoon, and then 5 o'clock, and he'll tell us these times are set in stone. 5 o'clock on the nose, and it'll be another 6 fish fingers, another 6 waffles, and 4 mini Yorkshire puddings, and then again, he might snack on 1 or 2 bags of crisps, but I would say he's probably, when he's at home, eating maybe 3 or 4 bags of crisps a day, down from the 18 to 20 bags a day he was eating when that was all he was eating. Drink wise, he still has his can of Dr. Pepper in the morning when he has his medicine. He's still drinking Diet Coke caffeine free stuff, but we only let him have 1 can of that a day now, and for the rest of the day he drinks water out of a glass on his table. He has a big 1.5 or 2 litre bottle of water that sits on his table throughout the day, and he just pours himself a new glass whenever he wants one, and he'll get through a bottle that size over the course of a day. So he's drinking a lot, he's eating a lot. It's far more varied than it used to be, and it is awesome. It's a little bit different when he's at school, because at school they can't cook him the fish fingers and the waffles for lunch. So when he's at school, he'll eat a full 6-pack of crisps for his lunch and have a couple of breakaways as well, the little chocolate bars, and he won't eat them at all at home. He'll only eat them at school. And when he's at respite, he eats completely different stuff, and it varies, and he seems much more willing to try food there than he is anywhere else. Did you and your ex-wife plan to have Lucy so young, or would you have rather have waited a bit? We didn't plan to have her that young, but at the same time, I'm glad we did, because, and I've talked about this a few times before on the channel, I'm kind of in the perfect, and Anna's the same, because she had Andy really young as well. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend this as a course of action to anybody, but I think there needs to be a spell in everybody's adult life where they get to go and live their life, whether that's spend your whole 20s traveling around the world, doing what you want to do, doing things for you, and then settling down, getting married, having kids in your 30s, that's fine. Or having your kids super young, and then you get to late 30s, early 40s, and you can go and live your life and do your traveling and do your stuff while you're still young enough to be able to do it. That's fine too. I think the worst for me, and obviously everybody's different, but for me, the worst option would have been just settling into work or finishing off uni and then going straight into having kids at like 23, 24. So you didn't really get to live much before. And because you're that bit older when you have them, by the time they're independent enough on their own, you're then in your 50s rather than your 40s. And it becomes a little bit harder to go and travel and do everything you want to do because you're not going to be as energetic and healthy. And I don't know, your priorities change. Obviously, I'd much rather, I mean, I'm 37, but I'd still love to backpack around Europe. Probably never going to happen because I don't think Anna would be up for it and I wouldn't want to do it on my own. But I'm certainly not ready to go on cruises and stuff like that, like what old people do. I want to go and see the world, and I'm going to get to do that when I'm in my late 30s, early 40s, still young enough and healthy enough to be able to do it, hopefully, but with more money than I would have had when I was 18, 19, so I can do it in a slightly upgraded way. Rather than staying in £6 a night youth hostels, I can stay in £80 a night travel lodges and live in a little bit more comfort when I do it. How has Andy's communication changed over time? Over time, his vocabulary grows all the time. He's always picking up new words, but the big change has been linking words together and talking in sentences, and this is something that's really happened over the last 6 months. School are working really hard on it at the moment, and he is starting to talk a lot more in sentences. For example, when he's asking for his dinner, previously, he would have just said crisps. And that would have been it. He's communicated everything. He knows we know what he means when he says crisps. Minimum communication required, so he would just say crisps and expect to be given crisps. Whereas now he might say, "Can I have some crisps, please?" So it's a sentence, and that is a huge development. And that, like I say, that's the last 6 months or so. How are you enjoying the new change to the vlog channel? I'm personally loving it. I'm loving it too. It's how we should have done it a year ago. I think it's much more manageable, much more fun, allowing me to flex my creativity a little bit while still being able to create videos that people want to see. So it's brilliant. I feel reinvigorated. I'm loving doing the vlog again. What are you most looking forward to about going back to Disneyland Paris? Not rushing. The 2 times we've been previously have been a rush. When we went back in May, we only had, although we had like 4 days in France, we only had 2 days worth of park tickets. Lucy was obviously ill on the first of those days, so she didn't get to go in at all. So we were rushing around on the first day because we left a little bit late because Lucy was ill, and then Andy didn't want to do all day there, so we had to come back a bit, and then we were rushing, and it was getting up early and staying up late and having to go back the next day and spend as much time in there as possible. Obviously that's all Lucy got, so we had to show Lucy everything that she'd missed the day before, rushing around like crazy people. Still had a great time, but we were very aware of the time pressure. And when me and Anna went a couple of weeks ago, that was obviously totally mad, doing it all, including all the travel in one day. We were just rushing around like crazy people as well. Whereas when we go back this time, we've got 5 days worth of park tickets. So we're traveling to France. We're getting an early Eurotunnel, but not super early, so we're going to stay down in Folkestone again in a hotel on the Sunday night, but we're not going to get up at 5 a.m. to get the earliest like we have the last couple of times. We'll get up at a normal, reasonable time, let's say 7 in the morning, get maybe an 7 or 8 o'clock Eurotunnel, we haven't booked that yet, get to Disney for like 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We have tickets for that day, but we don't have to go. We could maybe pop over there, have a little look, maybe go to the illuminations. We've got our 4 nights in the hotel over there, so we can just take it a little bit more leisurely. There's not the pressure to go to the park at opening every day and to stay and watch the illuminations every day. We could even decide midway through, let's just have a day off and just go to the pool at the hotel and just chill out. So it's going to be fun doing it in a more relaxed way, which is it's going to be a very different way to do Disney for us. Do you think you've made any bad choices for your YouTube career? I genuinely don't. There's been lots of learning experiences. Like, I've learned the hard way that my Football Manager channel should only have Football Manager videos on because people don't care about seeing me doing anything else on that channel. I've experimented with other games and they don't get the views. and people don't like them, so I learned to just do Football Manager there. I've learned that I can't run 3 channels at the same time, so as much as I enjoyed doing the lollujo 2 stuff last year, realistically it probably maybe won't come back. Certainly not while everything else is as busy as it is, because it's just not realistic to work that hard. I've learned that daily vlogging isn't sustainable for a long time, and I maybe should have stopped it a little bit sooner. But it wasn't a mistake, or what was the wording of the question? It wasn't a bad choice to do it. Obviously, the channel wouldn't have grown the way it did without us doing that initially. But I think not just in YouTube, in life in general, there aren't that many bad choices you can make. I mean, obviously, deciding to kill a puppy, bad choice. But unless you're being deliberately or consciously evil with what you're doing, it's pretty hard to make a bad choice. Sometimes you can make a decision and then looking back with hindsight, maybe you could have made a different decision that might have been a little bit better, but it was never a bad choice as long as you learn from the mistake or learn from the bad choice. I wouldn't be as happy now doing what I'm doing if I hadn't have got here the way I got here, because I needed to learn the stuff that I needed to learn to know how to do it the way I'm doing it. And I'm sure I'll make plenty more missteps along the way. There are going to be people watching this thinking, yeah, Kev, doing those 12 habits videos and 12 diet videos that get like 3,000 views on this channel, they were some bad choices. I completely disagree. I think they were fantastic choices, and I think in the long term those videos will actually end up performing quite well. They weren't videos for the current audience, they were videos for the new audience that will attract over the course of the year. Not that I'm trying to scare you guys away, I'm just trying to bring in some new people as well. And I think the people who are going to be attracted by the monthly challenge videos will go back and watch them, and they'll prove to be popular as well. And even if they don't, I've enjoyed making them, and they gave me an incentive to make some huge lifestyle improvements that I needed to make anyway. So even if business-wise they don't end up paying off, I already feel healthier both in my head and in my body a couple of weeks into it. I can't imagine how I'm going to feel after 12 months, and if making videos out of this stuff is what I need to do to challenge myself into sticking to it, then it's not a bad choice even if no one watches. You seem such a positive and outgoing guy, but when times are tough, how and what do you do to remain positive? I don't know that I'm outgoing. If you saw me in real life, I'm definitely not outgoing. I don't really like to talk to people. I don't really converse. If I don't have a camera in my hands, I don't say a lot. So I wouldn't say I'm outgoing. Positive, I think part of it is I'm naturally optimistic, and I'm a bit of a dreamer and very determined, and I struggle to take no for an answer. So I have had in the past huge crazy dreams. I still have huge crazy dreams, and I won't have someone tell me, well, you can't do that. So when I decided I wanted to be a full-time YouTuber, as an example, loads of people said, well, you can't. At the time, I had maybe 2,000 subscribers on this channel. This channel was literally just a little hobby that made no money at all. I had maybe 10,000 subscribers on the Football Manager channel, and everyone was saying, Kev, you've got hardly any subscribers, hardly anyone's watching, you're not really making any money. You've picked a tiny little niche that no one's interested in. You can't be a full-time YouTuber. And I just won't accept that. Who says I can't? It motivates me to prove you wrong. But I mean, there are times, as with anybody, there are going to be times when things are a little bit more challenging, and you do need to put the positive mindset hat on. And I think one of the most helpful tools and techniques I have for doing that, and I forget what book I read it in. I think it's probably from the 4-Hour Workweek, which is the book that changed my life, but I haven't read it for years. I probably need to reread it. And I think it was called Fearscaping, but that might be something different. And the thing that I'm talking about might not be this, but I literally, anytime I have a big decision to make, whether it's giving up my job or buying something expensive or doing something stupid or, whatever it might be, I will sit down, pen and paper in hand, and split a sheet of paper in half, and on one side write down all of the worst things that can happen if what I'm planning on doing goes wrong, just to get them out there. Literally pick out all the worst things that could possibly happen. And then on the other side of the page, and this is the key to it, how long would it take to recover from? Or what would I have to do to recover from it? And I went through this process when I was going full-time on YouTube. And obviously I had all the stuff on the what could go wrong. I might not make any money. We might not be able to pay our bills. But all of the really awful stuff that people seem really afraid of, and it stops them just going for stuff. I mean, can't pay my bills. How long does that take to recover from? I mean, I'm not going to go 2 years not paying my bills. I'd go maybe a month, maybe two, realise I can't pay my bills, run up a little bit of a credit card bill and go and get a job. So even if I made no money if I quit my job as a teacher, made no money doing this for a couple of months, the worst thing that could possibly happen is I'd go back and get a job again, tail between my legs, maybe with a couple of £1,000s of a credit card debt that I'd have to pay off. But ultimately, and I know some people will think this is a crazy cavalier attitude, but it's how I think. What's a couple of grand? Anyone can pay off a couple of grand of credit card debt within a year, probably sooner, if they've got a job. And I would have had a job because I'm a trained teacher. I could get another teaching job tomorrow if I wanted to. I teach an in-demand subject. I could probably get a head of department job tomorrow if I wanted to. Even if YouTube stopped monetization immediately and we weren't able to pay our bills anymore, yes, we'd have a difficult couple of weeks while I found a job, but then we'd be fine. And I think about that. I go through that exercise whenever I need that little extra push. What's the worst that could happen? And is it really that bad? And how long would it take to fix? And there are some things where the worst that can happen, like for example, I don't want to bungee jump. And if I did that exercise with bungee jumping, what's the worst that could happen? The rope could snap and I'd die. How long would it take to recover from? I couldn't. Okay, not going to do bungee jumping then. No, easy peasy. But for other stuff, too many people let the small stuff get them down. And big picture's where it's at. Go identify what your dreams are, go for them. Don't let people stand in your way and tell you can't do them, and just take a few risks. A few calculated risks. A lot of people are too afraid of risk. Reward is very closely linked to risk. You can't get big rewards without taking big risks. And a lot of people, you'd stop 100 people in the street and ask them if me giving up work the way I did was a big risk. Most of them are going to say, yeah, of course that's a big risk. I don't even see it as a big risk because of how quickly I could recover from it. But big risk gave me a big reward because I'm now doing something I love. And it's awesome. Last question for today then. Did you have a drop in views when you stopped daily videos? I'm putting a graph over my head now, which shows the last 3 months daily views on the channel. So you can see late October, we were averaging somewhere between 20 and 25,000 views a day. And then at the end of October, we stopped doing daily. So initially, yes, views dropped massively in November. There was a lot of people took a little bit of a while to get used to it, struggled to cope with the change, I think. So throughout November, we were averaging maybe 8 to 10,000 views a day. So there was an initial drop. December, we went back to daily again. And this was really interesting because when we went back to daily, we didn't go back up to 20 to 25,000 views a day. We went up to maybe 15,000 views a day at a time when typically our videos do really well. And then it wasn't until January when we went back to not daily again that views got back to where they were before, and if anything have now pushed beyond that. Our daily views are now somewhere in the 25 to 30,000 mark, so we're now getting more views not doing daily than we were previously when we were doing daily. The watch time graph looks exactly the same. This one that I'm putting on here now, this is the watch time graph for the last year, and you can see, yes, we got a huge boost off the back of Disney. So we went to Disney at the end of May. That had a huge impact on the channel. It's well worth doing, although it didn't have any impact in December, so clearly you have to go to Disney at the right time. But Disney had a massive impact. But other than that, you can see it was a fairly level year, and we're now no worse off than we were when we were doing daily. And if anything, you could argue that we're better off because we're getting slightly more views, a little bit more watch time, and it's less work. So work smarter, not harder. I'm making better quality videos, but fewer of them. And because of that, there are more, and this is what I said would happen at the time, more people are watching the videos because they're better. So it doesn't matter that there's not as many of them. So it did all work out in the end. For now, hopefully it continues to work out. But at the moment, it seems like not only has it been a good decision for my sanity, it's been a good financial and business decision as well, because it seems to be working out on all fronts, which is awesome. But we will wrap up that Q&A here because it's gone on longer than I intended it to. Like I said, I'm trying to put my phone back in my pocket while I'm talking. Like I said, we are going to do this every month, and it's all going to go in one playlist that you should be able to find from the homepage. So keep an eye out on the community page. In about 2 or 3 weeks' time, probably, I'll start collecting questions for the next Q&A, and we'll try and involve the whole of the family in the next one as well. But like I say, this week, it got away from me a little bit in the end. As you can see by what's going on around me, I've been busy, and I still have a lot to do in here, which you'll see on the office renovation video when that comes out in a week or two, probably. But for now, I will leave you there. If you have enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, thumbs up, all that good stuff, and I'll see you for the weekly vlog on Monday.